Atomsplit
Podcast.
I don't
18?
know. 18.
19? 19. Well, 18 or 19, depending on the editing order. So how does Peeble get his hair to stick up to the sides like that? Is that just a natural occurrence, or does he use a product? You know?
No, it's like Richard Simmons. He's got like
pull back down while we're talking about this.
Huh?
You don't mind? Pull back down to show that while we're talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So this has always been a question deep in my mind that we've never talked about.
Well, at one time,
it's Richard Simmons, so it's just naturally curly, but he doesn't trim it, so it grows out.
Yeah, he had like a natural curly afro sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And then he got old and he balded in the middle.
Right. Okay.
And what's left is like what you see with it. You know, it's not like. I guess he kind of.
Yeah.
He does something to where it's not curly, but I don't really know what.
Yeah. Okay. Because it kind of, if you didn't know that, it almost looks like a Micronauts acroyer or dead mouse ear kind of thing going on there.
When you don't see the face.
Yeah. So from behind. All right. Anyways. So the NAMM show, which is the National Association of Music Merchants, was going on in Anaheim this past week, right? Yeah. And I've never been, but I know like producers and that have been, and studio guys and musicians go and all that. So at the show, Gibson, we've talked about guitars in the guitar industry before. Gibson went back to the golden era. So what they did, they were in bankruptcy and all that, was come out with, I use the word retro, but classic golden era guitars, right? Mm-hmm. So they cut out all their fancy auto-tuning and computer guitars and went back to like the 60s Les Paul, 50s with P90s, gold top, Explorer, all these classic models that they re-announced, that they're re-releasing at the NAMM show. So I thought that was pretty interesting because that's probably going to save them, classic issues.
You don't, and there's no demand for the other kind.
I think it didn't really go off that well. I mean, I was interested in auto-tuning guitars and stuff like that, but obviously it kind of ruined them, so they went back to re-releasing just, new models of the signature models, like Gibson has teamed up with Chuck Berry's son and grandson to release the Berry's famed ES350T model. So a lot of classic, like I have a my Les Paul's a 1960s reissue. So it's kind of like they did that, 20 years ago, and now they're going back to it. And then I saw that Fender, kind of their arch competitor, came out with a brand new kind of new modern Telecaster acoustic guitar called the Acoustimass Acoustasonic Telecaster, a hybrid acoustic electric guitar, and it looks pretty bad, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I instantly wanted one. Of course, I instantly wanted one of those Gibsons too.
Yeah.
So I thought, man, so Gibson is going retro, going back to their roots, and then Fender's coming out with an all-new kind of technological advancement and a combination of the Telecaster with an acoustic model that does all kinds of modeling and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Both brands are kind of, juxtapositioning each other. And then I saw that Fender reveals new Squire contemporary line, kind of redoing their classic guitars in the Squire line. If you're not familiar with the Squire line, it's like the cheaper, more affordable version of Fender guitars. So like they have a Squire Strat and a Squire Telecaster and a Squire Precision Bass and all these. So I was kind of relieved at the same time. Pretty interesting, huh?
Well, what was relieving about?
Well, the Fender wasn't completely going new technology, and they were still holding on to the roots, you know.
Right. So
that was my guitar news from the NAMM convention.
So if you have an auto-tuned guitar and you know, like, isn't some metal like played in a different tuning than like the normal tuning of a guitar?
Drop tuning, yeah.
So if you do that with an auto-tuned guitar, does it like try and go back to like the regular tuning of the guitar when you're playing?
I do not know. Metal? I don't know. It's kind of like auto lacing sneakers from Nike, you know. I imagine you can set it, but I don't think it was ever a big hit.
Yeah, I can't imagine, like, because people need to tune at different things and keep it there.
Yeah, well, I imagine you could set it, but I think the point was you can't just do it, you couldn't do it yourself, and it was like going against the vintage models and craftsmanship that what they built made them famous on. So it's a weird battle against technology, against heritage, you know, and craftsmanship.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that they would have a little bit of both. I mean, you could keep some, you know, electronical advancements.
Yeah.
But then also have the classics. How about are they doing? Are they remaking the SG?
Oh yeah. They got a they have definitely have some cool reissue models of that, 2 or 3 killer SG models. And killer, like the Flying V, the Explorer, the double cutaway Les Paul, I think. I mean, just really cool stuff. I could easily spend $30,000 if I had it.
The Flying V is what James Hetfield uses.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if he uses it now, but yeah. I mean, that was a classic model. 23 strong guitar lineup is what they had. So
yeah, they I don't know if I sent you this, but I saw an article. Well, it was an article. It wasn't a really long one, but it was saying how Gene Simmons said rock and metal were dead, but then Dee Snider said that's not true because he would go to like shows with his kids.
Yeah.
Who were into like bands that were a lot newer.
Yeah. It's just gone underground.
Yeah. And so it's still there, and they're gonna need guitars.
Yep. In fact, SG, Gibson is re-releasing the SG standard bass guitar, which, gosh, looks awesome. I would love to have. So I don't know if you've seen the SG shape with just 4 strings and a giant bass sound.
No, I haven't seen that.
I mean, I wouldn't be. Didn't your guys AC/DC play an SG bass back in the day? Maybe not. I
don't know.
Yeah. So lots of good stuff.
Anything else from anybody? Like
yeah, there was some other brands. I don't recall off the top of my head instantly, but yeah, there was a bunch of other cool stuff coming out as well. But I don't remember. Oh yeah, Jimmy Page. Like there was the Jimmy Page. Speaking of heroes, released a a replica of the Telecaster that he recorded Led Zeppelin 1 on. Yeah, $25,000 each, around there. So it's like, it's the Dragon. I can't remember exactly who makes it. Is it Fender? Yeah, 1959 Fender Telecaster, built as a limited edition Jimmy Page Telecaster. One with mirrors, the other with the painted dragon, a price tag of $25,000 each. So, yeah, how about that? And then he also he worked with the amp company to put out the amp that he recorded Led Zeppelin 1 with, an exact replica of that. So I thought that was actually pretty cool, too. Yeah. Jimmy Page coming out to finally do something besides Led Zeppelin reissues. In a way, it's a Led Zeppelin reissue, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he just put out, like, remasters of all of the albums.
Mm-hmm.
And with some, like, new unreleased live things, I guess, and some cuts that didn't make it onto the final record, too. And I was like, man, every time he does this, I'm like, this has got to be it. I mean, you can't go any farther. And I haven't been able to tell any difference between, like, 2007's Mothership, and whatever he's putting out now, you know. And that was like, what, 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And then after he put those out in 2017, or was it 2016 or 17, something like that.
Right.
Then he has this all new, like, 30-song collection, and it's just the same old stuff.
Yeah. Well, supposedly I saw some quote where it said he was coming out with some new stuff this coming year. So there'd be new material. I mean, who knows what that means? So.
Did you hear about him and his feud with his neighbor?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't remember.
He's in some sort of feud with his neighbor. I forgot what his neighbor's name is.
Yeah.
But he's kind of like he's one of those guys that just sings. You know, just a singer, like, you know what I mean.
His neighbor is?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He's just this
vocalist.
Vocalist. And he's in some kind of feud with him, and so whenever the article said that whenever he was outside at his pool, and Jimmy Page came outside, he would start playing, like, classic rock from the 70s and 80s. That was anything but Led Zeppelin.
Oh, man. All right.
So
I think Jimmy Page needs to go back and live on the farmhouse in the, English farmlands. So he doesn't have neighbors. So.
The haunted house that they did 4 in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's abandoned.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Man. So lots of cool stuff, guitar-wise.
Yeah.
In 2019, I instead of buying gutters or a new HVAC, I'd rather buy a new Gibson SG bass and a Fender Acoustimass guitar.
Probably, but if you don't get the new air conditioning unit, you're gonna die in the summer.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe mine will make it another year. We can hope.
Yeah. Well, I hope so.
That being said, let's go ahead and play a song, and then we'll come back and we can talk about your media updates.
All right. Well, wait. Before you play a song, though.
Let's talk about what you're doing.
Well, we're doing, like, a big battle scene. But I'm drawing all of the characters separately, so I can put a lot of detail and draw them good.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to string them down to where they go in the final page. So this part is like in the middle where Bobby is going to be surrounded by Peeble and Stan,
Yeah.
and Jerry.
Cool.
And then in the background is going to be Atomsplit and Nucleus Smash fighting each other. And,
Cool.
and we'll show the stage again. Set the scene.
All right.
Okay, but before we play a song, talking about these guitars, what was your first guitar that you ever got?
It was a Japanese guitar.
Yamaha?
No, God, no. It was oh man, I can't remember the name. I remembered it a few years ago when I looked them up on eBay. It was some weird Japanese ripoff of Strats and stuff, and the strings were about a half inch off the neck. Oh man, I can't remember the name of it.
But you don't have it anymore.
I don't have it anymore, but more than that, tying into the Fender Squire, my first real, after that, my first real, more real guitar was a bass guitar, which was actually a Fender Squire bass guitar. So my dad said to me, if you learn how to play House of the Rising Sun on bass, I'll buy you a bass guitar. Because at that point, the only way I could join a band was by playing bass because I wasn't good enough on guitar. So I needed a bass guitar. So he told me, if you can you learn how to play House of the Rising Sun, which was his favorite song, on bass, I'll buy you one. So that's what I did. I learned how, it was really easy. It's just like 4 or 6 chords. But so I ended up learning that, and then he took me to the local, independent music store, secondhand dude, and bought me a Squire precision bass and a little tiny bass amp, and I joined my first band playing bass.
Playing bass, and then moved to guitar.
Moved to guitar, 4 or 5 years later, yeah.
And you said when you were learning bass, so you learned all the bass,
Hondo,
how
that's
to play
what it was.
bass before you learned how to play guitar, or did you learn
pretty much
together?
No, my first, I just remembered, it's called Hondo. My first guitar,
okay,
my dad bought, which was like a Japanese or Chinese or Japanese brand of rip-off American guitars. But they still make them. And it was just impossible to play because it was so horribly made. So I guess that's why I couldn't play it. And then I got the bass. It's a lot easier to play, big bass notes. And then I ended up learning the Iron Maiden bass lines and all that stuff on that. So that's how it happened.
Now, so now in the present, what's your favorite? What's your go-to guitar? Your favorite guitar?
Man, that changes between. The Atomsplit model has always been a Gibson and a Fender mixed. So that's what I have. I have 2 Strats, and I have my Les Paul and my SG, and I mix them up because they complement each other. And then I have a acoustic Ibanez bass, but it broke pretty badly recently, so that's why I'm looking at getting a new bass guitar.
So you have several favorites.
I have several favorites, yes.
Okay.
Depending, because music depends on mixing of sounds and textures, and just one guitar, unless you're AC/DC or whatever, and you have one guitar sound, and that's it,
Yeah.
But, Atomsplit music has always been a little bit more mixed, so there's been, although it's been rock, it's had a mix of Strat and Gibson, so, and other things.
Okay.
So there you have it. So that leads me into this next live cover song that I'm going to play. And this is, I don't think we played, have we played a cover song? I don't think we have.
No.
So this is Atomsplit playing the Cult live Wildflower back in the 2000s. And if you recall, we got to see the Cult at Open for Guns N' Roses there in 2016. I was very excited about that. And I don't know if you remember the songs, but this was one of the bigger ones. In fact, it might be their, probably second biggest hit. We played 2 Cult songs that night, Wildflower, and She Sells Sanctuary. So this has got a, speaking of Les Paul, I'm pretty sure John Berge, who was playing lead guitar that night, has a Les Paul ripping out the solo in the middle. So here it goes.
Okay.
Check it out. Hey, thanks.
Where did you record that at?
That was at a club like in Lawrenceville or somewhere called I think it was called the Watering Hole. It was not like a major Atlanta club at all. It was one of those clubs where you had to play covers too.
Oh yeah.
Because they were out. You know, they weren't like in town cool district.
Uh-huh.
So like they expected you to play a certain amount of covers, which I was never really good at, but that was one of them.
Well, you played a lot of. Well, you played a few Zeppelin covers too.
Man, I don't know about not in those days. In my early days, maybe, but
right. But you have before. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Well, I mean, was that song? What year was that?
That's probably 2002, 3, something like that.
So it's popular enough to be known.
Yeah, like we had all our fans there. They were dancing on the speakers and all that, as I recall. So yeah, I should have dubbed in the audience noise there at the end. Usually I do that. So yeah, there you have it. A live cover.
Live cover.
Yeah. So why don't you finish up with your latest media updates?
All right.
If you're up to it, I know you're sick there.
Yeah, I'm sick, but
how does it feel drawing people's ass?
I mean, it's good. It's normal.
Yeah, that's what artists do, don't they?
Yeah.
Male or female, they got to draw the anatomy.
Yeah. Yeah, and see with these model guys, my wife and sister-in-law got me. It's easier to like get it right than just like speculate.
Yep.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
So well, okay. So I've been in the middle of like a huge move from one house to another. So I hadn't been watching much TV, but what I have watched, I watched one episode of this show called Dogs on Netflix, and it's all about dogs, and how they make our lives better. And the first episode was about a service dog. And the second episode, which I haven't seen yet, but I read about it while it was loading up after the first episode, is about a Syrian refugee who's trying to get his dog out of Syria and back here to America. Now, that's some dedication.
Wow. Yeah.
And that just shows you how important dogs are to people. You have dogs, or a dog. I have dogs.
Yep.
They're just amazing animals.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I tried to start watching Daredevil, but I was like, I can't get into a story with like chaos all around me with this move going on. So I'm not gonna try it. I'm just gonna wait until things are settled. Then I'll watch Daredevil. All
right, you won't regret it, but yeah.
And then no, I know I won't regret it. I mean, even though the thing is like Netflix is canceling all of its
Marvel stuff
because Marvel is gonna have it. Well, Disney is gonna have its own streaming service.
Yeah, maybe I don't. I mean, maybe they got the contracts made so they can just pick them back up and with the same actors and stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's what they're gonna do.
That would be awesome.
So yeah, I mean that would be awesome. And it's just like, but the ones that are on Netflix, according to the article I read, we're gonna stay on Netflix for a while. So no worries. I mean, you're gonna be able to see them all. But so anyway, my wife likes. I don't really like cop shows or criminal shows. But my wife does. And I saw an ad, like Netflix will send out like, here's some stuff coming up on your app. on your phone or whatever. And one of them was called The Innocent Man, and it was a book by John Grisham. He's a fictional lawyer writer. I mean, everybody knows John Grisham, I'm sure.
Right.
Like The Firm and whatever. He's done, all this law stuff. What I don't care about. I mean, lawyers and cops and criminals don't interest me, other than like the fact that there's an industry for prisons in this country. And
except that Daredevil is a lawyer.
well, I mean, he's a superhero though.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding.
So anyway, John Grisham is an innocent man, and I said, this looks good, I mean, it's about, and Netflix has done this before, but it's about like how the cops will break you down into confessing to things that you haven't done.
Oh yeah.
And that's what this was about. So I that's something I'm interested in, just to see how wrong the system is,
Mm-hmm.
just how broken it is, the criminal justice system. So I said, let's watch this because my wife likes all that. Let's check this out, okay? So we turn it on, and the opening credits is an acoustic version of Number of the Beast.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it blew it blew me away. I was like, this is amazing. And then I was like, now I'm on the hunt. Like, I gotta find this song, right? So it turns out I'm sure I'm not gonna say this guy's name right, but it's a guy named Djali Zwan, who I think just goes by Zwan, Zwan.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a bunch of metal covers that are all acoustic.
Okay.
And it was released in 2003. I had never heard of it before, but it is awesome.
Wow. Cool.
So then I got, even more hooked on the show just because.
What's the show again?
It's called The Innocent Man.
Okay.
And it's about some murders that happen and how the police and the district attorneys and everybody just like had to have blood. I mean, the town had to have a villain to punish.
Yep.
Even if they didn't have the evidence to punish it, find people, to find a person.
Yep.
So they found scapegoats. And that's what this show's about. It's about these people being scapegoats.
Which goes all the way up to what we experienced today at the national level. But we don't want to get into that, but yeah.
Right. And one of the guys was like 5 or 6 days away from execution before, he was released because of DNA. The new DNA evidence at the time.
Yeah.
Like late 80s or late 90s. I don't know if it was late 80s or late 90s. I forgot, but he was close. He was close to dying because the people had to have blood. I mean, they always do.
Yep.
So that's that. Anyway, Number of the Beast. Acoustic.
All right.
All right, so that's I guess that's it.